Hello and welcome to all of you on NAMTALKS, the webinar series from NAMTech. I am Shruti Mudrale, currently enrolled in the International Professional Masters Program here in NAMTech. NAMTech's Masters Program in Smart Manufacturing is a fully residential international twinning program focusing on Industry 4.0 technologies. The program is offered in collaboration with the Technical University of Munich, Asia, Singapore. We are excited to see you at NAMTalks today, a webinar series that brings together industry and academic experts to benefit you, the learners. Our inaugural session, NAMTalks CHRO Connect Edition, seeks to learn from our distinguished guests about the future career prospects in the Industry 4.0 domain and across a range of manufacturing industries. Today's topic is Navigating the Future of Manufacturing, Essential Skills for Smart Manufacturing Careers. I will now introduce our guests. Our moderator for today's event is Mr. Praveen Kuruvalli, who is Head of People Strategy and the HR Center of Excellence at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India. The AMNS India joint venture comprises two of the world's largest steel makers. Prior to joining AMNS India, Mr. Kuruvalli had worked across continents and in India with ArcelorMittal, GlaxoSmithKline, Consumer Healthcare Limited, and National Mineral Development Corporation Limited. He is joined on today's panel by Ms. Baljeet Arora, representing Steel Strips Wheels Limited, a leader in designing and manufacturing automotive wheels, both under the steel and alloy category, with a significant global presence. She is the head of HR for R&D, sales and marketing, and also head of learning and development at SSWL. In her past assignments, she has worked with Taco Hendrickson, Suspensions India, Tata Group, and SML ISUZU, an OEM for commercial vehicles. Our second speaker, Mr. Anmol Grewal, is corporate HR business partner for sourcing and supply chain, fully built solutions, and HR analytics with leading Indian multinational automotive manufacturer, Ashok Leyland. Prior to joining Ashok Leyland, Mr. Grewal had worked with ITC Limited, Nestle, Vodafone, and Dabur. Now, without further ado, I would like to pass the virtual stage to our moderator for today's event, Mr. Praveen Kuruvalli.
Thanks a lot, Shruti. Thanks a lot for your wonderful introduction, and it's a pleasure both Anmol and Baljeet to meet you virtually and having you here, and also thanks to the faculty and the staff at NAMTech for giving all of us this opportunity. It's a wonderful topic to start this NAMTalks series, as I hear from Shruti. I hope that we were able to see the students and see their faces, but I think this is the format, and we are happy to continue with this format. I think smart manufacturing, when we speak about smart manufacturing, and I am definitely not an expert in smart manufacturing, two things come to mind for me, at least, depending on what I've read. One is automation, the other is ability to analyze huge amounts of data and derive insights from that, and use that insights to improve efficiency, reduce cost, and vastly improve the entire shop floor experience as well, and the quality of the product. And in the last few years, we have made immense strides in our ability to analyze vast amounts of information, whether it is through Internet of Things or it is through cloud computing, artificial intelligence, right? And being in manufacturing industry for quite some time now, I've seen, I don't claim that any of our factories are at a level where we would say that we are at industry 4.0 or at the level where smart manufacturing has the potential to take us. But I've seen the transformation, I should say, and that has largely been driven so far by automation. But the adoption of the concepts of smart manufacturing it is fair for us to say that it has not really moved at the pace at which the computational capacity or the data analyzing capacity has moved. We talk about quantum computing, we talk about great strides that we have done in terms of generative AI in the most recent past. And obviously there are certain challenges. So maybe Anmol, if I come to you at this point of time, what do you think are some of the key challenges? Because technology has moved. We have seen a lot of automation, robotics, etc., coming into the smart manufacturing. And when you see factories like Tesla, you can actually see the entire extent of robotics. But frankly, while the concept of smart manufacturing is so is clear, and the technology behind it is fairly advanced right now, what do you think are some of the key challenges for that to come, and for organizations to start seeing the fruit out of it?
Thank you, Praveen, for asking this. In fact, this is a very exciting time to be a part of the automobile industry, and for that matter, any manufacturing industry, right? I'll share with you before I come to the challenges, because challenges are always there, right? But we need to look at the opportunities. So some of the opportunities which we are leveraging is, first thing we are doing at Ashok Leyland is, we are harnessing collaboration between the R&D department with the operations using AI, right? For example, we are already working on a 3D experiential labs in a couple of areas. Vehicle design simulations, for example, even before you launch a variant, if you are able to collaborate on a vehicle design simulation, and plus you feed in your business data as well in terms of sales and revenue forecasting, etc., and plus the vehicular simulation, right? That itself is creating a good ecosystem in terms of what you can do, right? Other aspect linked to this is also the aspect of machine learning from a software development point of view. So the more you are integrating R&D and operations, right, this marriage is very important from a HR perspective, right? The better is your preparedness for the future. But nevertheless, let's look at practical shop floor level, because I know the panelists along with me and all of us are shop floor people. So the first challenge I believe is there is no bridge technology right now. I'll share a very simple example. Suppose at one of the factories, we've got 9 manufacturing units, and say in 1990 or 95 or 97, we got in some beautiful machines and we implemented it maybe we got it from UK or we bought it from France, right? But that still runs on a different platform, and the new machines on the same line can be, working through Wi-Fi, right? So how do we create a bridge between, because you can't spend so much of capital expense on an ongoing basis, right? How do you create bridge technologies that the old and the new gets integrated seamlessly? So a very small example that, if we look at the Jaguars, the planes, and the MiGs were brought by India, say in the 70s, 80s, or, but the avionics constantly get upgraded so that they're still flying in the air. So what is that bridge technology? That's the only challenge I wanted to highlight. Now I hand over the stage to you.
Wonderful. No, thanks, Anmol, and I can understand what you mentioned. I think it's the transition, and obviously when we speak about manufacturing, it is generally capital intensive. So when we invest in certain technology, we invest for certain point of time for us to be able to get return on investment. But the technology, the entire evolution is much faster in terms of time scale these days. So I mean, great point there. I think we need in a way a smart enabling technology to allow us to bridge between old and new and start leveraging. So thanks a lot. Wonderful point, Anmol. Baljeet, I mean, talking about again challenges. When we also talk about these challenges, and if I just have to speak about some statistics, 2 in every 3 companies implementing digital manufacturing solutions, they are probably failing to completely leverage the amount, the investment in the digital technologies. And if you go back to the topic, which is in terms of skilling, or the skill gap that exists in order to leverage the power of implementing the digital technologies and moving towards smart manufacturing. What do you think are what are the key challenges why we have not been able to move at the same pace at which the technology has moved on the skilling side? If you see that as a challenge.
Thank you, Praveen, for this wonderful question, and thanks, Anmol, for an insightful challenge and input, which I really think is there. Apart from this, I believe the first challenge which I foresee is a change mindset approach, which is missing. So what is important is for us to understand, whenever we are at I will say a crossroad of tradition and digitalization. So it's a crossroad for all of us. So when we see this, it's important for us to understand the larger picture which the organization wants to see, and in all aspects, whether it's cost and investment, whether it is the kind of skill sets we are having, so everything. So it's very important to have that mindset. That change mindset is important, because I believe for any business to scale up or change, 3 things are very important. One is you need to be very adaptable and you need to be very agile in whatever things you are bringing in. Second thing is that you need to have this problem solving and critical thinking approach, which is I feel missing somewhere, because whenever a transition is there from the transition being there in any project, for us it is important. The challenges will come, the hurdles will come, every step there will be hurdle, but if we have the right problem solving approach in our people, if we groom our people with that critical thinking approach, this challenge can also be overcome. And another aspect which I want to bring in, see, learning, I believe, is a continuous process, and this process is something which we learned 10 years back when we graduated, or we were at 3-4 years of our career, is obsolete now. It's not relevant also. Same thing is applicable. Things we are learning, AI, cloud computing, after 10-15 years, it may also not be of any use. So what is important for all of us is that approach for continuous learning, that zeal and that drive for continuous learning is very, very important. If we have such things, then any kind of challenge or the things which we feel are challenges can be overcovered, and we can really be successful in organizations.
Thanks, Baljeet. I think when you speak about continuous learning, I think the pace of change is so fast that even it's really the agility, learning agility of organizations and individuals that is really going to make a difference.
Correct. And one more thing, if I add to this, is that our current employees, if I talk about our we all from manufacturing sector, it's very important to understand what skill set our employees are in, what are the kind of competencies they are having, how much is the gap, can that gap be covered or cannot be covered. That analysis are very important. That skill analysis, competency analysis are very, very important for us to before even going to these kind of interventions.
So Anmol, if I just take that point one step forward, saying that it's extremely critical for us, for organizations to be agile and be a learning organization, in order to really meet the skill requirements of smart manufacturing future that we see. How are our current learning methods or conventional methods going to be different in the future? What is going to be different to ensure that we are able to future proof the skill requirements?
Excellent question, Praveen. So some of the thought process and some of the things which we've implemented at Ashok Leyland, just wanted to share. 10 years ago, we took a little bit of it was a challenge at that point, but now it has become the biggest opportunity for us. So 10 years ago, we stated that 30% of the GETs we hire will be women, right? And today we've touched almost 45-46%, because we've seen value in that. I'm sure we are in an age group when all three of us would have traveled in a Fiat car, right? And the only accessory was perhaps a cigarette lighter and an ashtray, right? Today, the best designers of automobiles in the world are women, and each of our car is a lounge in itself, with a cup holder, with a coffee holder, with a bottle holder, with everything around us. So first thing is how well a business is leveraging diversity. Second, there has to be a diversity in terms of qualifications. So the traditional mindset of only looking at, say, a specific domain and engineering, like a mechanical engineer or electrical engineer. So now we are mixing it up. When we are hiring talent, we are mixing up the specializations in terms of electronics and communication, etc. So that brings in diversity of qualifications and thought, right? So there's one. But I was talking to someone very senior in the company. He said, let's look at one thing: curiosity. If you hire people for curiosity, half the battle is won. But curiosity itself is a challenge, because in today's time, talent has to mature beyond spoon feeding and beyond Google, right? I'm being very upfront in saying these two things, because I know a lot of youngsters are listening to me. So if they decide to mature beyond spoon feeding and Google, right, that is where curiosity will begin in a genuine sort of a way, right? In terms of visiting the customer, visiting the shop floor, interacting with people, interacting with suppliers, interacting with, the more you spend time with the customer and vendors, that is where the real learning is, And lastly, my submission is, especially in terms of AI, machine learning, what is happening across companies is we are moving away from internal talent and we are depending on consultants. That's a huge risk for any industry, right? So somewhere, how do we upgrade the skills within the system where we'll have to spend, each manufacturing company will have to spend money, that you have that capability inside rather than you buying it from outside? Because with the consultant, you don't have confidentiality, you don't have security, you don't have security of data. These are the sort of things I just wanted to bring about. So that's my perspective.
Wonderful. Anmol, great point there in terms of diversity. In fact, if I have to speak about diversity in AMNS India right now, for instance, we have leaders who have worked in the organization for 30-35 years, worked in global organizations, in countries, in far developed countries. Even them, some of them, when they visited our plants, because of our focus on, for example, gender diversity, they were very surprised, and they said, I was very happy to see young women actually working and operating lines in a hardcore manufacturing industry such as steel industry. So which was huge. But I think this is just the beginning. You also touched on the aspect of diversity in terms of background, which probably you can say the cognitive diversity. Not everyone will think the same way. Not everyone will have the same solution when they see a problem. And one thing I realize is the organizations need to be much more open to ideas in order to help and nurture new ideas and allow and actually bring in the concepts of smart manufacturing and much more creativity that the young talent is capable of these days. So Baljeet, if you if you reflect about your own experience, how has organizations' partnership with institutes changed over a period of time? Do you see a shift? Because the first point is collaboration that Anmol made in terms of R&D and operations. I think there is a very similar kind of collaboration that really needs to exist between academia and industry in order to realize the potential of bringing smart manufacturing with people with the required skills. Any thoughts on that? How has the collaboration changed over the period of time?
Certainly, I believe that there is a tremendous change in the kind of collaboration we were having earlier with I will say about the campus and now, and now it is more of grooming people with the required skill sets, as Anmol has said, what industry is expecting, rather than taking people for whatever field and things they are having. And in fact, I have been interacting with various institutes and universities, the kind of and in fact with NAMTALKS also. So the kind of content they are building for the students is more industrial expectation. So I also being a part of one or two universities wherein they were developing content for their management function. There they actually invite industry specialists for specific expectation in the content. I feel this is something which was not there earlier, and this has really created a change, and students are at this moment of time, they are prepared to, when they are entering from campus to corporate, it's just not an illusion for them. It's something they are really prepared. The kind of skills it has been expected from them to have, it is definitely adding value, and it will help us to move these new young talent to the managerial role very fast. Their growth path will be very faster than what it was earlier in earlier days. So that is a shift which is there. And because it's very important, in Still Strips, we believe in grooming and growing people within the organization, whether it's a young talent or people at our senior leadership level. And we work with that model very specifically. So at every level, we see what is the growth path, how the person is growing, how it's moving. And as I said, it's important for us to see the larger picture. We also create a future roadmap of the organization, how I see an organization 5 years down the line, and what kind of competence and skill set I required for that organization, whether can be groomed within the organization through succession planning, or it can need to be taken from outside. So I think that is something which is very relevant, and it's helping us.
Anmol, if I can ask a follow-up question of what Baljeet was saying, and actually you also touched upon, which is you mentioned about insourcing rather than focusing outsourcing to a very large extent, obviously on specific skills. So when you talk about insourcing, do you think that's something that is a model that large organizations or even small organizations should use in order to accelerate movement towards smart manufacturing, implementing these concepts of Industry 4.0? Is it something that you believe is going to be more helpful?
Yes. See, one of the opportunities, as you shared, academia has one super capability, right? In terms of that, if you get the right talent inside your institute, any institute for that matter, you're able to create a good ecosystem for learning. But a working company, right? While most companies say that, we have a university, we have this, etc. Of course, all large companies do have. But I still believe the academic depth, the R&D and operations, same with the academic depth, once it is in hand with operational depth on the shop floor, that is where the real magic happens, right? And when we look at, young talent is a big reservoir of talent, in terms of, and we are looking to engage them very robustly. For example, what we are doing internally is, and even we are doing at colleges, we are doing road shows. And right now, I believe the biggest opportunity to leverage is an internship. say you want to do a project on AI, right? And suppose I don't even know the spellings of AI, right? The best opportunity for me is to go to one of the best colleges, right, and get some really charged up interns, to deliver a project in 6 months or 3 months or 4 months, right? That is an amazing opportunity to develop. And what is happening is you're connecting with academia at the lowest cost, right? In terms of, and you are really giving a life skill to those students, right? Rather than hiring a very hi-fi consultant for something, if you leverage the young talent, bigger ideas are going to come from there. Another very big opportunity, especially which lies with both Ashok, Leyland, then ArcelorMittal, and even with, of course, SSWL, which is a very reputed organization, right, is that how much are we partnering with our vendors and how many skill laboratories we are doing with our vendors. Because that is another very big area to leverage young talent. For example, if you were to pick up your young talent and put them in a skill lab with say a Bosch or with any other, with a Schneider or whatever, that will be another huge sort of a learning opportunity, right? Lastly, companies have to spend a lot of money on manufacturing engineering services, because what's the point of bringing in talent if you're not going to give them the softwares to work on, right? So that is the third area as well.
Wonderful. And Baljeet, if you towards that direction, organizations will continue to look to leverage some of these institutes that offers those kind of skills, and to experiment in a way at a lower cost. What would be your advice to students, like students from NAMTEK, who are probably who are in NAMTEK at the cutting edge technology, or at least learning the cutting edge technology currently? What would be your advice to them? How should they start planning their own entry into corporates?
So my advice to students will be very simple. In 3 things I will tell them. Like, first of all, it's very important for every youngster who is entering a corporate world need to have a very adaptable and agile mindset, need to be very open for learning whatever comes to there. So, and when I talk about being open for learning, I always see that example like a small child. When we are a small child, they always ask why and why, SAQ, why this and why this. So that why should never end. We should never think that if I ask it, what will happen. So I think this is something which is very important for all of us. Here we get stuck, we don't ask questions, we feel that my question is not relevant and it will not make sense to the other person. We have to come out from all these kind of thoughts which we are having right now as a student. I can really think they must be having, because that will help us to clarify the communication, the kind of doubts we are having, and that will really help us. And second thing is, as I said earlier also, it's very important to have a problem solving mindset. See, there are 2 things. One is you can very well understand this, even Anmol too, that there is one thing that you bring in the problem. The another thing is that how I bring in a solution to a problem. So that is something as a youngster, when you are entering organization, you should go with that approach. If I have a problem, I should always also, as an innovative strategy, as an innovative minds, what can be a solution. So I give this advice to the students: please believe in these 3 things, and first and foremost is important, believe in yourself. That is the first thing which you should do.
And Anmol, we all know since 2000 at least, manufacturing has not been the preferred choice for students as well, right? Bringing in automation, bringing in the newer technologies, where probably there is lesser need to have human presence in hazardous working conditions, right? Or much more or much lesser need for physical activity, for physical work. I mean, it's only logical to say that manufacturing is going to be a little bit more in vogue or a little bit more attractive. But do you already see that trend moving, or do you think that manufacturing organizations need to do a lot more to attract talent, engineering talent?
Well, actually, it's a big trick question, but I'll be very upfront, because manufacturing is not for the faint-hearted. So far I've never seen a truck chassis being made via 3D printing or via work from home, right? So all these terminologies like work from home, etc., all this is very fashionable in the services industry or the ITS industry, right? Manufacturing creates the real managers because they do daily management, they do monthly management, they do quarterly management, and they do the annual management, right? So the most robust talent for any industry is built on the shop floor, right? So yes, the shop floor will have more computer screens, will have more dashboards, definitely, but the shop floor is not going to be substituted in any way, right? So in fact, one of the things when we are hiring talent, we do something known as, of course, which is very, very fashionable in the last 10 years. It's known as a realistic job profile. So sometimes I'm very upfront at the campuses. I said, you're joining a beautiful brand, but you'll be doing 14,000 steps a day, walking up and down the shop floor. Are you ready for it? Right? Because without that mindset, the chassis at the end of the day is not going to come out. The truck or the bus is not going to be made if that mindset of integrating the latest with the shop floor is not there. So this is my honest view, and yes, we are never short on talent, in terms of, and I guess each one of us, whether it is ArcelorMittal or SSWL, India is having very good talent too. But people need to be very realistic, because if you choose an industry, you have to live by its rules. Otherwise, you shouldn't choose a specific industry.
And Baljeet, if I ask about your experience, if you have to, when you go to universities, when you go to engineering colleges now, do you see much more interest in manufacturing, or is it something that you see there's much more, there's a larger path to be taken before we make manufacturing attractive again?
Well, for this particular question, there is no right answer, I'll say, because every individual or every experience we have with university is different. In some of the institutes, I believe that there is a clear inclination towards manufacturing, because they believe that it is important for us to know the manufacturing first. If we want to grow in any level, if we have done manufacturing, if we are making wheels, so if I have done the entire wheel making process, whether it's of any like steel, alloy, whatever we do, with my own hands, I'm at a very stronger hand when I go up at a leadership level. I believe this thought is important, and this need to be inculcated in the students, both by the academic universities as well as from us when we are doing campus talks or we are interacting with the students like these forums. It will help them to have the right mindset. So it is I believe it is more of our moral duty to help students to align their mindset in the right direction. That is more important, because that will help them to think in the right direction. That direction, that leadership, we need to provide together. It's a joint effort.
And I actually have one more follow-up question to you, Baljeet, on that. While we talk about smart manufacturing and the skills for it, let's say the technical skills, the entire aspect of Internet of Things and artificial intelligence is on one side. But when you talk of an employee, a worker on the shop floor, or an engineer in a smart factory, is there a difference in the persona other than the technical thing? What are those competencies and traits that you think are important for someone to succeed in a smart manufacturing context?
I believe that, for a worker or for an operator who is working on the line, for him, working in a smart manufacturing can be a big shift. But if that process is brought in the organization step by step and they are trained, that's what we are doing right now. We are developing our operators, including our casual laborers too, engaging them more, so that this thing is not something new for them. And if we do it in a phase-wise manner, in a planned manner, then that I will say the change management shock will never come. But all of a sudden, if you say that we are bringing in this smart manufacturing and all those big things, that will definitely lower down the morale of an operator who is working there for ages, who is working in the organization for 10 years or 15 years. For us, they are very important. Even a casual worker who is coming to our organization is very precious for me, because they are very important for an operator, because the operators are running the machines. If we don't take care, we don't upskill them also with the change, with the time change which we are into, we will not be able to grow. Whatever we do, we will not be able to.
And Anmol, what are your views of a successful engineer in a smart factory? What are the traits that you think are maybe different from or the same?
Yeah, I would say curiosity to the power infinity. And second, as I said, that someone who's able to integrate the best of the past with the best of the future. Because say Ashok Leyland is a 75-year-old organization. So the first thing is, how much does that person respect and imbibe the past glory of what we do and pride in that? And second, how much of the new areas that person gets in? So, I just want to add one aspect over here. It's very faddish, even for very senior people, sometimes in organizations, to say that, I am not being trained, etc. Now we are in an era where nobody has an excuse about training, whether you are 16 or whether you are 60. Learning is your own journey, right? Because internet has made it so accessible for us. Whatever we've talked today, all this, if we were to just punch it into chat GPT, we'll get even better answers, right? So what I'm trying to say is that fire internally has to be within the people, right? And lastly, I think any industry is about relationships. The sooner people are able to build robust relationships on the shop floor, that is the game changer. Man management still is gonna be there, right? So how do you marry the technical skills with the relational skills, right? That is the mantra in my view.
Wonderful. So my takeaway is seamless integration between the past and the future. So essentially saying that smart factories are going to be built on a strong foundation of factories that have evolved over a period of time. So that kind of reminds me to something that Nandini shared with me yesterday about the entire transition from a standard factory to an automated factory, where we are probably right now, to the intelligent factory. And I think one of the key challenges and opportunities as well is the ability to have the right skills and build those skills through a very strong partnership with academia, which I think is strengthening day by day. I can say that with my own experience over the last many years. So I think the openness, and in fact I would say that the technology has enabled this partnership in a much more fruitful manner. So thanks a lot, both of you. I think it's time for us to probably hear from the students. Will smart manufacturing give a good career opportunity to work with industries with innovative ideas? I would say it's there in the question itself, which is to say, I mean, when I think of the word smart, I think of intelligence, right? So I think it's natural that organizations, if they have to not only move towards intelligent manufacturing or move towards a smart factory and sustain there, they have to be innovative. They have to be creative in the way they design their processes. Definitely yes. But Baljeet, your thoughts?
I definitely agree with whatever you are saying. It's very important for that innovative idea itself is the answer to this question. So so it's more about thinking out of the box. I will say opportunities are ample in manufacturing setup. Smart manufacturing or even manufacturing, there is ample opportunity. It's up to us what kind of innovative thoughts we bring in and we grab that opportunity. It's all up to us.
Wonderful.
So I guess it's been answered by the panelists, so we can continue.
Yeah. But I see one question, Anmol, maybe you might want to take it, which is what roles are offered to women in the manufacturing industry and how can we encourage more women to pursue careers in this field?
Okay, great. So, as I said, we have embarked on a majorly a diversity initiative. Of course, that is one aspect. And our experience has been very, very positive in terms of, because we've been into this for the last 10-15 years, right? So right from your associates who are coming through, your contractors, there's an opportunity, right? There's an opportunity definitely at the executive level, and we've leveraged a lot of innovation in that domain. Well qualified women engineers, on the shop floor, in maintenance, in sourcing as a function, which is a highly analytical function, in technical services. And of course, I've also seen a lot of GETs transition into HR very robustly in a company like Ashok Leyland. So as I said the shop floor creates a manager not only for an organization, for the whole ecosystem, because you master daily management, you master weekly management, you are target oriented, your man management is more robust, right? So very, very solid opportunities all across for women, right? However, one caveat over here is, one, where your manufacturing location is. Second, your safety for women employees has to be guaranteed. For example, your awareness across all levels, right from your third-party contractors to everyone on something as simple as respect for women, POSH, as a legislation. Then second, your basic hygiene factors in terms of a good quality creche, in terms of a good quality transportation, in terms of adherence to working hours, etc. All that is the main game changer in terms of bringing women to the shop floor. And I believe in me, it's very doable, because we've done it. It's very, very doable. And our journey is now somewhere in a mid phase, and for our greenfield projects, we are taking very ambitious targets. So we have to create the right ecosystem and circumstances for women to really excel. That's the.
Baljeet, your thoughts?
I definitely agree with what Anmol is saying, and we need to create that environment for women to work in. And we at Steel Strips are very rigorously believing, and we are working on this diversity project. And one of our trainee we have aligned to work on where in shop floors a women employee can be worked, and creating the kind of hospitality, or you will say, as he said, about sensitizing people about when we talk about women's safety at workplace and even at or else, because they should feel safe, they should feel protected. This is something we care for. And apart from this, not only for women, we also work a lot on health and well-being of our employee very rigorously. And because I believe that health and mental well-being is something which is very, very important for all of us nowadays, because we all get stressed very soon. So this is something which we have our own yoga center in our organization, we have our own psychologist who have went out sessions. People can go to him. So that is a platform or a place which we have created for women or for our everybody, so that people feel physically and mentally they feel healthy and safe to work in an organization. So these are some of the important aspects. If we bring in, definitely anybody would love to work in manufacturing.
In fact, if I have to share my own experience in metals and mining industry, so I am a mining engineer. So when I did my mining engineering, as a law, women were not allowed to work in mines, and hence there were no women taking mining engineering course. But things have changed significantly. When I went to our mines recently, I saw a few mining engineers doing exceptional work, and of course, so essentially what I see is, if the question is which all areas can women work, I think that is only limited by two things: one, our imagination, and secondly, our ability to provide an inclusive work environment, considering all the facilities and a safe safe and healthy work environment. So that's my bit. I'll take one more question, which says, what role does emerging technologies like AI, IoT, and data analytics play in shaping roles in your company? Anmol, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, firstly, if you're not into these things, you will not be innovative for long, and you may not be in the market for long. So, as I said, we are harnessing 3D experiential labs. We are harnessing vehicle design simulations. All this is linked to AI and IoT, and we are mapping a lot of business data integration. As I said, machine learning is a reality. It is a live thing. Another thing is that, as I was sharing with you, right, I just wanted to say that a lot of technologies which we thought was only domain of electronics and communication, etc., or IT, those are very much on your shop floor. For example, your digital manufacturing. Today you can simulate your complete digital factory, 3D modeling, and you can make any changes, and you can know how those changes are going to impact. So work is underway over there, right? Other thing is your interlocks, which is your RFID, QR codes, and are going to be there through the product life cycle, right? So whatever you've learned in a specific technology area, all that is being implemented on the shop floor. So, and in any industry. So whether RFID applies to the hotel industry, RFID applies to FMCG, it applies to vehicle manufacturing. And lastly, I just want to add a perspective. For example, slowly in automobile, your quality is going to move to blockchain, right? That itself is going to move to blockchain, so that till the life of the vehicle, you know that what was the quality checks this vehicle passed through, right? So that's the sort of thing which is already there, right? And I'm just saying one thing, only one capability is required, which is a curious mind, right? A curious and original mind. So the youngsters should learn to cultivate that. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
Baljeet, anything from your side?
I believe that mindset is something which plays a big game in this, and whether we are also in various platforms. Whether I talk about cloud computing or talk about 3D modeling, in every phase we are bringing in digitalization. Whether it's in manufacturing, we are setting up our own excellence center, which will forecast the entire manufacturing process on a digital platform, touchscreen basis. Whatever, in fact, if I talk about AI, we are also trying to bring in our support functions like purchase for HR, because it is very important for us to use this tool. But how much is effective for you, what kind of usage you need to have, that line you have to draw. The platform is very big, the plate is very big. What need to be picked up from the plate, that is up to us, because if we don't do that, we will not get the results and it will be a failure. So that is the crux.
Now, I mean, great points. While I was hearing both of you speak about the impact these modern technologies, whether IoT, AI, has on or on manufacturing industry already. One thing that I see is the impact on productivity, and I don't have to speak about productivity in shop floor itself. We were exploring an intelligent bot or intelligent artificial intelligence tool to be implemented in our organization, and the capability is amazing. So it was just a tool which was connected to all the various employee platforms, and once properly integrated, and once we allow time for the platform or the artificial intelligence platform to learn, the power is immense. So we could just type and say that, okay, um, can you please find out the report that said these that will allow me to understand, etc., etc. And in the same sentence you said, I will be going on leave from this date to this date, please apply, and please check if there are any meetings during those days and external meetings that I cannot cancel. And it actually took less than 5 minutes for the tool to come and tell, this is the report that you are looking for, does it meet your requirement? I have applied the leave for you and it has gone to your manager, and these were the external meetings that you need to reschedule. So when I thought about it, it's not just productivity on shop floor, it was the productivity impact it will have on the managers or employees across is going to be immense. It's a power that is there to be leveraged.
Definitely.
Wonderful. There's one more question and an interesting question for all of us as a HR professional here. How do you democratize the career and developmental decision and leave the choice to individuals in a smart manufacturing world? A choice has to be made between a defined JD versus required skill. Frankly, I mean, before I ask Baljeet to comment on it, the need for defined JD is fast expiring for me. But anyway, Baljeet, you want to take that?
See, I think that, for alignment, if the required skill set for any particular job and the JD, the aspect of JD which has come in, it's very important, because there are two things to it. What is organization expecting? What individual is presuming? What is there for him in that role? So the two aspects are very important. What are the expectation from the role, the skills, and as an individual, I should also be very clear of my competence level, my skill level. Because if that clarity is not there, I will land up on a wrong island, which is not right. So this question, for like whosoever has asked this question, my sincere advice to those students will be for us to do our SWOT analysis very thoroughly. It's very important to do our SWOT analysis. Every individual, every student should do this, because it's not when you go in an interview, they ask about your SWOT, you don't know what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and we just say something. But I believe if it's rigorously done, this question will never be a challenge. So this is a piece of answer to the question which I have.
There's one more question, Anmol. Maybe you would want to take this. It talks about R&D. It says, in India, we have number of manufacturing units, but Indian producers, manufacturers do not emphasize on R&D. Due to this, most of the manufacturers are not capable of implementing new technology quickly. So how to encourage companies to build R&D facilities?
I guess this question is more for the union and its industry minister rather than for me. No. See, one of the things is that the sector in which you are, right? Till the promoter doesn't see the disruption, or the top management in the system or in an organization doesn't see disruption, right? What is disrupting your industry? till that time, it's not a wake-up call. So, for example, if you're working in FMCG, right, you constantly are benchmarking with your competitor right in any shop, right? If you're in automobiles, sometimes I tell youngsters, I said, please visit the dealerships of the competition. You'll see, you'll learn much more, in terms of, what are their sales numbers, etc. and all, that ways, or how they are handling the customer, how they are handling customer queries, what are the sort of tools they have, etc. Right? So, what I'm trying to say in terms of R&D, firstly, it has to be internal fire within a ecosystem or an organization. For example, today, if you're in pharma without an R&D center, you'll shut shop. If you're in automobile without R&D center, you'll shut shop. Right? Some industries may not have the bandwidth to handle that, but that is where a lot of your vendors and consultants come into play. Right? So today in an automotive sector, if you are unable to innovate on something, or you don't have the R&D capability, right, or for that matter in any manufacturing sector, you can always outsource your R&D to another third party, right, of high repute, which perhaps could be a listed company, right, because they would be really worried about their reputation, right, while you may spend some money, right, but at the same time, at least whatever you'll get is authenticated. It's a very small example. Sometimes I hear a good company, whenever wants to change its mindset, they bring in either a McKinsey or a Boston Consulting Group. Sometimes, right? I'm not looking at it from a R&D lens, but you need to shake up your comfort zone to get into, how you'll manage your own future. Then you'll find money to spend on R&D.
So my reflection, if I have to say on the point you've mentioned, is very similar. Of course, yes, there has to be a very conducive R&D, conducive policy to promote R&D and further innovation. But as we see right now, the push to make in India is very unsustainable if we do not invest in R&D and be competitive versus the global industry. If the global industry, it is not going to be the same it is today, next year, and it will not be the same definitely next decade. So if we think that Make in India is kind of a bubble and we will shield ourselves from outside, I don't think we are living in a realistic world. So every organization definitely needs to reflect in terms of where they are going in order to remain relevant in the industry in which they are. So I think it's as you said, it's almost like a survival question in order to constantly reinvent and re-engineer your processes. Baljeet?
Certainly, yes, you said it very rightly. We need to re-engineer our processes, and we have to have a dedicated R&D center, because we are here because of our customers. So what is a customer's requirement today, and forecasting that requirement in future, the kind of technology we require, kind of R&D center we needed. We need to think very ahead of it, so that we are in line with the expectation, and it's the need of today. So we have to be.
India as a country is in a wonderful, not just demographically, but from an economic perspective as well, is it at a stage where I think it is the right time for industries to invest in R&D.
Yes.
And I think if organizations and industries don't invest in R&D in the next 5-10 years, it's going to be very difficult for India as a country to achieve the potential.
Definitely.
I'm a little conscious of time. Shruti, I'll go back to you.
Yes, sir. Now I would like to give the vote of thanks. So thank you all for a wonderful and informative session. Special thanks to Mr. Praveen Kuruvalli for moderating today's session. Our panelists, Ms. Baljeet Arora and Mr. Anmol Grewal, for taking time out to join our webinar today. Your advice would be of great value to those pursuing a career in smart manufacturing. Thank you, Ms. Arora. Thank you, Mr. Grewal. We'll
Thank
be
you.
back soon with the next edition of NAMTALKS. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.